The assumption that seed always means literal genetic sperm cannot be sustained, linguistically, historically, or contextually, not even inside the Torah itself. The biblical writers consistently used seed covenantally, legally, and representationally, not strictly biologically. Adoption, covenantal belonging, tribal assignment, and inheritance all used the language of seed even when no biological descent existed. The Levirate law alone disproves the claim. A man who died childless could have a child assigned to him legally through his brother's offspring, and that child was called his seed per Deuteronomy 25, 5-6, even though the DNA belonged to the brother. Covenant, not biology, determined seed. Likewise, in Genesis 17:12-13, the foreign-born servant and the purchased slave were counted as Abraham's seed when circumcised. They were not from Abraham's sperm, yet Scripture explicitly includes them as his zera through covenantal incorporation. If the Torah itself calls non-biological people Abraham's seed when joined by covenant, then the claim that seed never means spiritual or covenantal is already false at the earliest level. Paul not only knows this covenantal usage, he leans on it heavily. Galatians 3:29 makes the point with surgical precision: if you belong to Christ, you are Abraham's seed. If seed was always physical descendants, then Paul was either A. lying, B. misusing the Scripture, or C. importing illegitimate meaning. But he wasn't. He was using the exact covenantal logic already present in Genesis, the prophets, and the law. Paul's entire argument hinges on the fact that seed is not reducible to DNA but refers to covenant membership, inheritance, and promise. And Paul states outright in Galatians 3:16 that the seed promise was not referring to many, meaning a literal genealogical swarm, but to the singular seed who is Christ. If one insists that seed means physical sperm in every instance, then Paul's entire argument collapses and you would have to accuse him of exegetical malpractice. Instead, Paul shows his readers that the Abrahamic seed promise was covenantal and singularly fulfilled in the Messiah, not in mass biological reproduction. A reading of Romans 9 being evidence of physical descendants also misfires. Romans 9 does not trace a conception line to Jacob. It traces a covenantal election line distinguishing between physical descent, children of the flesh, and covenant-recognized heirs, children of the promise. Paul actually denies that Abraham's biological children are automatically the seed, saying, "They are not. All Israel who are descended from Israel and the children of the flesh are not the children of God." If seed was always physical descendants, Paul would never draw such a stark distinction. The whole point of Romans 9 is to show that biological genealogy is insufficient and that God's electing purpose, operating through covenantal promise, determines who the seed is. Jacob is chosen over Esau, not because of DNA, they shared the same womb and same parents, but because of covenantal election. The thrust of Romans 9 is covenant, not conception. The ingathering of Jacob's seed in the last days was never about locating people with the right DNA profile scattered across the ancient world. It referred to the restoration of covenantal Israel, diaspora Israelites, proselytes, God-fearers, and those already attached to the synagogue network throughout the Mediterranean. That is why Paul's mission field consisted of people already worshipping Israel as God, keeping Sabbath, reading the Scriptures, and familiar with the promises. The many nations blessed through Abraham's seed in the last days were the many Israelite nations created by the exile, dispersion, and tribal scattering, not random pagans with no covenantal history. Paul's point is not that Abraham's literal sperm created a global biological family, but that the covenant God made with Abraham, administered through the Messiah, was fulfilled when God gathered his covenant people from every place they had been scattered. So the argument that seed always means literal sperm simply cannot stand. The Torah contradicts it. The prophets contradict it. The Septuagint contradicts it. Paul explicitly contradicts it. And the entire covenantal structure of Israel contradicts it. The Bible uses seed covenantally, legally, representationally, and typologically, not merely biologically, and Paul's argument in Romans 9 depends on that broader, richer covenantal meaning. Footnotes: 1. Deuteronomy 25, 5-6. Levirate marriage law, child of the living brother legally counted as the seed of the deceased brother. 2. Genesis 17, 12, 13. Circumcised foreigners, slaves, and household members counted within Abraham's covenant and household. 3. Jacob Milgrom, Leviticus, Anchor Yale Bible Vol. 1, page 956. Circumcision incorporates the foreigner into the Abrahamic covenant. 4. Michael Fishbane, Biblical Interpretation in Ancient Israel, Oxford University Press, 1985, page 245. The Jia becomes a covenantal member through the rite. 5. N.T. Wright, Paul and the Faithfulness of God, Vol. 1 Fortress Press, 2013, page 790. 8. Paul redefines Abraham's seed covenantally and messianically. 6. James D.G. Dunn, Romans 1-8, Word Biblical Commentary, 1988, page 483. Paul uses seed theologically rather than biologically. 7. John M.G. Barclay, Paul and the Gift, Eerdmans, 2015, page 500. And 23. Romans 9 concerns covenantal calling rather than genetics. 8. Josephus, Against Apion 2.28-2, Antiquities 14.110, Gentiles throughout the Mediterranean attached themselves to Jewish communities and synagogues.